Welcome to the 1905 podcast. Joe and I have been going to Stamford Bridge for over 30 years. For the past 3 years, we've been exchanging voice notes on everything from the highs in Porto to the lows of Potter. Each week, this podcast will take you inside our unfiltered thoughts on all things Chelsea, sharing our view from Gate 13 of the Matthew Harding stand. Let's hit the notes. This week, we look at bin boots, bottle jobs and Brentford, as it happened again with Chelsea beating Spurs with a red-hot comeback before winning again in the cold of Kazakhstan. Let's start with our reactions to that win at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Oh, the final whistle has literally just blown, so I'm going to give my immediate reaction and then a more calm reaction probably later. Let's try not to think about the last 3 or 4 minutes because that was pretty horrible. And yeah, let's not worry about that because that was very stressful. But this Chelsea team. I mean, Joe, you and I have been saying it a lot to each other privately. I just am growing to really, really love this group of players and this manager. The character they've shown there after an absolute disaster of the first 10 minutes. Obviously, 2 ridiculous goals where Cucurella is effectively wearing the wrong fucking boots. Just an unbelievable shambles. But to show the character like we did at that point and come back and play the way we did. The Spurs crowd are up. You know, the game could have easily got away from us there, but we have done the opposite. And I think to a man, the players deserve so much credit. I'm just going to pick out a few players very quickly that are in my mind, and then we'll do more of a proper breakdown after the game. But first one, Sancho, the character he showed there when we needed it. We needed something special to get us back in the game, and wow, did he do it. It was an absolutely brilliant goal. I said in the last podcast, didn't I, that he has got a really good strike of the ball on his right foot, and yeah, that was it. We saw it. A brilliant goal, and I thought he was superb the whole game. The 2 big £100 million men in midfield, Caicedo and Enzo, they have been the players that have almost represented the new owners in some ways with the massive outlay on those two, both criticised at different times in their Chelsea careers. But today, I thought they were absolutely brilliant. They got what the occasion meant to Chelsea fans. The passion they showed, some of the challenges they were both putting in, just absolutely unreal. The passing from both of them, and then obviously that finish from Enzo. I mean, what a goal. And the way he celebrated it as well. I thought those two were just fantastic. And then I just got to mention Cole Palmer. I mean, obviously, it wasn't his best game, but the way he took those 2 penalties, particularly the 4th one, which obviously ended up being the winning goal, we are watching something truly, truly special in front of our eyes here. I think we're witnessing greatness, and we've just got to really enjoy it. He will become a Chelsea great. I have literally no doubt. If we can keep him, which hopefully with the team that we're building around him we will, he's going to be up there with the likes of Hazard, Drogba, Lampard, Terry, etc. I really think he's that good. And yeah, the character of the guy, I mean, God, I just love him. And then the final thing I'm going to say is the manager, Maresca. I thought what he did at half-time, bringing off Lavia, who I actually thought was maybe our best player in the first half, but to bring him off, change it around like he did, he's a genius. Spurs didn't know what had hit him in terms of the structure change, Cucurella inverting, obviously Caicedo moving in, Gusto coming on. He moved Badiashile over to the left. He looked so much more comfortable. All these changes completely turned the game, and up until that last sort of crazy 5 minutes when again we'd made a lot of changes, we just controlled the game. And you've got to give the guy credit. He does it time and time again. He makes changes at the right times. He's not afraid to make those big subs, those calls at half-time. Did it again, and he deserves every bit of credit from that performance. The league table is in front of me now. It looks fantastic, doesn't it? And yeah, we've just got to hope that this young Chelsea group doesn't get carried away with all the talk that's going to now really start to hit them. I think the last week or so it's been half tongue-in-cheek about Chelsea being in the title race. This week, the talk will be real because obviously Liverpool have a game in hand, but we're only 4 points behind. And yeah, as we've said many times, I don't think we're ready. But if they keep winning, the talk isn't going to go away. But I'm just going to enjoy it. That was brilliant. Come on, Chelsea.
Yeah, pretty average Sunday, really. Didn't do much, didn't see much. Absolutely mad, was it? What a bonkers game of football. I thought I'd seen it all when it come to Chelsea Tottenham, but the games are getting better, aren't they? Every year you think we'll have a dull one, we'll have a 0-0 at some point, but no, there's always like at least 4 goals in every game. It's just madness. But yeah, I'm not going to complain. We keep coming out on the right side of them, which is nice. I think we said earlier in the week that Spurs will play a certain way, and Ange Postecoglou will keep playing his same football no matter what's happening in the game. And so it proved. You know, Spurs could have maybe changed their tactics at 2-0. They could have potentially not shut up shop completely, but they could have reverted to a tighter back four, a tighter midfield 4 or 5 potentially, and sort of said to Chelsea, come on, you got to break us down now, find ways to attack us. But no, they kind of left themselves wide open. They're flying at Lavia, they're flying at Caicedo, and we're getting the ball around them. We found those pockets of space, and that's what proved to be their downfall in the end. You know, they kind of got not greedy, but this insatiable sense of we must keep coming, we must keep playing attacking football. You know, just bites them in the arse time and time again. And against a side like Chelsea, you have all these wonderful little intricate players, even players like Caicedo, who you wouldn't expect to be like intricate passer. He really is, and Lavia too. You know, it's not just the flair players in Madueke and Palmer and Enzo. It's all of the midfield can do it. And even our fullbacks are so great at doing that. Reece James, when he plays, obviously Gusto and Cucurella, they're so good at doing it. So over the moon with the result. Obviously, coming back from 2-0 down is always wonderful. Never going to sneeze or snarl at that. I mean, just they blow my mind. Every time I watch them, I think, are we ever going to lose again? Obviously, the famous last words, of course. But what can you say that hasn't already been said? I like everybody that watched the game that was a Chelsea fan would have been feeling pretty grim after the first 10 minutes. And then at half time, I felt we had hope, and Sancho with a fabulous goal. I mean, it was such a great hit. I mean, the little bit of curl just at the last second that dips inside the far post, which means it clips it and goes inside, is absolutely brilliant. And we are seeing a little bit of his Dortmund form. I think you said that, Chris. We have started to see that now. That there was a few rumours about Sancho being a bit of a misfit and maybe causing a few issues. I don't know where these stories came from, but it looks nothing further from the truth. And I loved his interview on TNT yesterday, if anyone's seen that, with Glenn Hoddle and Ian Wright, where he talks about the team and how he loves playing for the team, and everyone gives everything for each other, and they realise that not necessarily one bad performance and you're out, but you've got to perform in training and you've got to keep your standards high to stay in the side. And Enzo said that in his press conference too. If you drop below the standard that he requires or the coaches are looking for, then you won't play. And I think that's such a refreshing thing to have. And we're fortunate to have a big squad, but also a good big squad. You know, not just a good squad of small players. We have lots of players that can come in and do wonderful things. And do you know what? They're all so likable. I love them all so much. There's not a player really in that squad that I think, oh, I don't really like him. He gets on my nerves or whatever. They're all so brilliant. And the fact that they're all young and all coming through together at the same time just makes life so much easier for everyone, like to get on board with. You can see now the plan. I think Chris and I think we were probably one of the first 2 people to come out and say, do you know what? We believe in it, but you have to give it a chance. You can't judge them on a couple of games or even half a season. You need to see a lot more in the data, a lot more in what the owners are trying to do and what the sporting directors are trying to do. What are they building here? What is it? And now you're seeing it. It's fantastic. I mean, you just can't get away from the amazing turnaround in this team. From last year looking like they were always on the back foot, kind of, if they conceded a goal, they sort of wilt into their shell. They concede another one. Now they can see the goal and it's like, don't care, we're going to win this game, guys. And you've got a player in Palmer that is so full of confidence that it doesn't matter what happens in the game. You just sense that he thinks to himself, I'll get us out of it. And not just him. Look at the goals around us now. Look at Enzo's contribution recently. Madueke, Sancho, Jackson. They've all stepped up. They've all added multiple goals and multiple assists over the last 4 or 5 weeks. It was happening before, but it became a little bit of the Cole Palmer show. And I'm really pleased to see now that everybody's making a contribution to the side, because you can't do it as a one-man team. Chelsea had Eden Hazard for so many years, who carried us through so many games with a I'd say a above average defence that could keep clean sheets or certainly keep the score down to at least 1, which meant that Hazard could always do his trickery and do his things, and the team would more or less come out on top. And I think now it's so nice that everybody, and not just Cole Palmer, is making a real conscious effort to make this side what it is. And I'm just here for it. It's so brilliant. Going off time, 2-1 down. Caicedo potentially could have gone off for a red card. Kulusevski could have also maybe got a red card for his elbow on Lavia. You're thinking, okay, we've got 11 men. Caicedo's got to be a little bit careful. Can we get the next goal? And I think it was important that we did. And I think the nice thing was that once the penalty went in, you sensed all the confidence had flown completely back into the side. They looked good before that, but you sensed they really enjoyed that. And obviously the Enzo goal, where Palmer basically drags out 4 Spurs players. If you watch it back, what's nice is that the Chelsea sort of forwards are all rotating. They're playing off the left, off the right. They can go both sides, and they can go through the middle too. And that ball that Palmer picks up, he drifts right out to the touchline. He sort of does a few skills, keeps the ball away from the Spurs players. They can't really touch him. He goes into the box. He drives into there. He gets a cross that kind of gets deflected over to Enzo, and he buries it. I mean, Enzo, I think of even 6 weeks ago, doesn't hit that ball. He's like Maresca said to him, come on, you need to get some goals from midfield. You can do it. You're capable. And he's taken that mantle up so well. And once we got that third goal, I mean, the smile on my face, and I'm sure your Blues fans' faces, was absolutely from ear to ear. I mean, I was so pumped. And you're thinking, okay, what's going to happen next? And on our WhatsApp group, one of the guys put, this isn't going to finish 3-2. And so right he was. The idea that we could go and then get another goal, another silly foul from the Spurs defender, was it Basuma this time? And you're thinking, okay, 4-2. If Palmer scores this, it's going to be over. And the way he just Panenkes that ball down the middle, absolutely no respect for Forster and Spurs in their own backyard. Obviously, he shushes the crowd for the first penalty. The second one, you can tell he really enjoyed that. And yeah, okay, we can kind of forgive the last 5 minutes of injury time or whatever. We did lose our way a little bit there. Spurs getting their third goal was pretty poor defending the short corner, and then the little 1-2 round everybody in. Caicedo was a little bit at fault, didn't really pick up his man. Gusto on the line maybe could have done a bit better, and it was just all a bit messy, to be honest. And you know, the game finishes and you're just over the moon that it's over. And to be in a position after literally 8 minutes where you're 2-0 down, your left back can't stay on his feet because he's just falling over every opportunity. The wind-up merchant that he is, you know, at the end of the game, throwing his boots in the bin and saying, sorry, Blues fans. You know, I think, Chris, you said it. You can use that sort of banter when you win. But things are going for Chelsea right now, and the Caicedo red card could have been a pivotal change in the game if he got sent off for that. You know, we couldn't have any complaints. Equally, obviously, Kulusevski, if Caicedo would have gone, he would have gone for his elbow on Lavia. I'm sure of that. But yeah, it's an incredible game. You know, everybody's woken up on a Monday morning feeling really chipper. The weather's been absolutely shocking this weekend. I know all the kids' football around the country's pretty much been called off, and I know my children have been chomping at the bit to get out there. So the fact we could watch that game, enjoy it, and you know, come away with 3 massive points going into Brentford at the weekend. We've got the European game before that, of course, but our Premier League game against Brentford at the weekend feels great, doesn't it? Like, if because Brentford are doing very, very well. But if we can, punish Brentford and take the points away from them, going into Christmas period, we're looking really strong, really, really strong. Games of like Ipswich and Fulham coming up or on the horizon. We've got a real opportunity to keep pushing away from the pack, keep pushing away from Newcastle and Aston Villa and these sorts of sides. It's there for the taking for Chelsea. Not saying we're going to win the league, but we're certainly right in that mix for top four. Dare I say it, I did say that Chelsea had an opportunity that they could finish in anywhere between 2 and 4 this year, and I really believed it. And I mean, Chris, you mentioned me privately and said about what if Mo Salah or Virgil van Dijk was to get a big injury, a 5-month injury or even a 3-month injury. Does that change the outlook on the season? It probably does a little bit. Liverpool, I think, are probably just a little bit too strong right now. But it wouldn't surprise me one bit if the worst was to happen for Liverpool and they did lose a couple of key players. There's no guarantee that they're gonna walk away with this. I think at the moment they're certainly in the driver's seat, and Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City will chase them down. But doesn't it feel great to be one of those teams that's in the mix?
Well, Joe and I weren't fortunate enough to be at the game, but we know a man that was. Owen Phillips, huge Chelsea fan, good friend of the show and journalist, was at the game in the press section, and Owen was kind enough to send us some voice notes with his impressions from in the ground. So we're going to join Owen in the second half with everything up for grabs. Here's how Owen saw the game.
Well, you've got to say it's still here for the taking. 2-0 down after 2 diabolical slips. I mean, once is unfortunate, twice is unforgivable. I don't know what he was thinking. Did he not have a warm-up? I mean, just like, it's Sunday league stuff, isn't it, that, really? Anyway, great response. We haven't seemed to panic. We just haven't seemed to panic, which I'm really impressed with. So we'll see. Magical goal by Sancho. And we're looking good. We're looking dangerous. If we can pick them off. Well, the Spurs announcer has just told us about the goal for Enzo, and he sounded pretty pissed off, as are all the Spurs fans. It's been coming, to be honest. It's really been coming. Brilliantly taken pen by Cole Palmer, and that run there, twisting and turning and doing and just taking one way and then the other. There's a swagger and a slight arrogance there, I say, about Chelsea now. The most impressive thing, and I've probably already said it 3 times, is that we didn't panic. We haven't panicked yet. And now got back to 3-2. Let's make sure. Let's get a fourth before they have their last hurrah in the final 10 minutes. But Casado's been immense, hasn't he? Back into midfield, and what a Rolls Royce of a footballer, with the tenacity to boot as well. Great stuff. Let's see it out, Chelsea. Wow, second penalty, and my goodness, that just... I was talking about swagger and arrogance and cockiness, like the best teams have it, don't they? We got it in abundance today, so 2-0 down. We could have absolutely crumbled. Last season that would have been 5 or 6, I reckon, but this is a different Chelsea. And just sitting here watching it has been, pretty special, to be honest. Do you know what? Even at 2-0 down, while I was quite ready to thought about packing up and going home, you just felt that we were well in this game. They were there for the taking. They were still quite naive, quite fragile, and Chelsea fans absolutely loving it. But that penalty, just a little dink. It's just naughty football. Glorious. Well, the ground is emptying out pretty swiftly now. Scenes from the Chelsea players here means so much. That look at them, they're just all together. That spirit that we talked about, Chelsea fans have talked about, and you've certainly talked about on the pod, has been so clear to see. 2-0 down, and to come back and play like that with that sort of composure and that confidence was really, really awesome. Maresca celebrated like they'd won the World Cup at the end there, just the release. And all the players going over to the fans now, and it's a special win. That one that we'll remember for a long time.
What a reaction, what a performance, and thank you again, Owen, for that. It really was brilliant to hear what it was like in the ground, and I don't know about everyone else, but I've been absolutely binging social media on Chelsea in the last 24 hours. It's Monday afternoon as I record this, and to be fair, the Chelsea social media accounts, particularly Instagram, is just been fantastic with all the video footage of the players celebrating and all that kind of stuff. And we've talked about it a lot, so I won't go into too much detail here, but the camaraderie and team spirit that we're seeing in the current Chelsea group is as good as it's been for a long, long time. And it does feel like these guys actually really love playing for each other, don't they? And what you said, Joe, earlier about what Sancho had said, you're not only hearing it, but you're seeing it in the way that they're celebrating goals, all these little details. There's a really nice moment, I don't know if people noticed it, but when Enzo scored, he obviously went to take his shirt off, where he would have been booked for that. And Jackson literally pulled the back of his shirt down to make sure he didn't get booked. And yeah, just lots of little moments, the way that the players are pushing each other forward in front of the crowd after games. And it's really nice. And it's what you said, Joe, just to echo that point, is the number of different players who are almost stepping up. I mean, Palmer's the main man, no doubt about that. And it's almost your running joke that he'll be man of the match every other game. But it tends to be the supporting cast are rotating. So against, just to pick a few games, against Arsenal, it was Neto, right? Neto was brilliant, had a fantastic game, and he stepped up with that big goal when we needed him. In midweek against Southampton, Madueke was superb. Brilliant goal, man of the match on the night, superb. And then yesterday, I thought it was Sancho. Personally, I know that Palmer got man of the match, but for me, Sancho, over the 90 minutes, was our best player. He was involved in everything. Watched the highlight reel back, and you didn't necessarily remember just how much he was involved in a lot of the goals. He played the pass for Casado when Casado was brought down for the penalty. He played the pass for Palmer when Palmer was brought down for his penalty as well. He scored a brilliant goal, but Sancho was superb. And that's what's great about this team, is that, you know, the funny thing is Sancho's not even probably guaranteed to start against Brentford next week. You know, he probably will, but again, you wouldn't be surprised if there was rotation. That's just how many great options we've got. So it's, yeah, really, really great to see. They're such a fun team to watch, such a likeable team. It's what you said, Joe. I completely agree. There's so many players in that group that I genuinely like now. And I Sunday night, I was in bed trying to get to sleep, but thinking about the game as well. And I was thinking, for the first time, Chelsea, maybe we are in the title race. You know, it's a weird season. Man City are having a weird year. They're having a bit of a year. We've seen it with Chelsea teams of old, and even our great teams, when you have a year where the motivation just doesn't look quite right. Kind of understandable when they've won 4 in a row. How do you keep going? You just sort of sense that if Guardiola's he's obviously signed on for a couple more years, he might well be looking to build a new team in the summer. I think there'll be a lot of change. They didn't buy well in the summer. They didn't replace Alvarez, who went out, and I can just see them this year not putting that run of 19 games together that they often do the second half of the season. I just don't see that in them this year. Arsenal are still a threat, but I think they're probably the weakest they've actually been in 3 years. I think the two teams that they've had in the last 2 years who've obviously put a real good title challenge together, they don't look quite as fluid to me this year. And if teams can work out how to defend corners against them, then I think they lose a lot, as we're seeing. They're absolutely brilliant at them. So if teams can work out how to defend against it, then I think you cut off quite a bit of their attack. And even so, they're still not winning games like they used to. And Liverpool are the ones who look pretty relentless. But as you said, Joe, if they got a key injury to a Salah, to a Van Dijk, I think it opens it back up. If that doesn't happen and they stay on the form they are, then I think they could actually win the league fairly comfortably. But Chelsea are in the conversation, and even to be in the conversation is just a joy, isn't it? And to be honest, at this stage, very unexpected. The interesting thing for Chelsea is the man that we have talked about a lot, that man in goal, Robert Sanchez. I don't think you win the league with Robert Sanchez in goal. I think you have a chance of winning the league with Jorgensen, based on what I've seen of him. I think if he came in and had a great run, you might have a chance. But I think as long as Sanchez is in goal, it's just a matter of time until we drop serious points in big games where he just isn't up to the standard required. And unfortunately, I think it's going to be exactly what you had said in the pre-season, Joe, which is we're basically going to end up waiting for him to make a couple of big rickets in games that cost us, for Maresca to make that change. And it's really strange, isn't it? Because in basically every other area, Maresca's been pretty brutal, really, in making changes, whether that's taking people out of the squad like Chilwell or Sterling who didn't fit the way he wanted to play, or within games making subs at half-time and things like that. But Sanchez is the one he's really stuck by, even if he's giving you heart attacks every time he plays. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. He's one booking off a suspension now, so he may miss a game for that. But we saw Jorgensen in the midweek. He made 2 really good saves against Southampton and just looked more comfortable with the ball at his feet. And it will be very interesting to see if over the next month or so we see a change in there, because I think he's an area where you would really worry about Chelsea being able to not eventually stumble in this run that we're on. And obviously with Fofana being out, unfortunately we did see, particularly in the first half, how Bediashile struggled on the right-hand side. But let's finish on a positive. I think overall, the league table is fantastic. And if you had gone to any Chelsea fan, and I'm sure even Maresca himself, and said this is where you'd be at this stage of the season, we would have all snapped your hand off. So yeah, let's look forward to the games ahead.
If there's ever been a team that's been a bogey side for Chelsea, it seems to be that Brentford is it. Our record against them is woeful. I'm sure, Chris, you'll mention that in your best and worst coming up. But I don't want to concentrate too much on Brentford. We know that they're fast starters. We know they've got goals in them. You know, they are the second top goal scorers in the league behind us. So they should be treated with the respect they deserve. They are a threat. Obviously, their away form, as we know, is pretty woeful, although they do often take the lead in these games. They don't see them out. Their home form is where they make their money, if you like, and we've got to take advantage of this. I'd like to think that when we play Brentford away later in the season, that they would have maybe dropped a few points at home as well, and they won't be quite as brutal. I mean, they absolutely terrorised Newcastle last week. I think Chelsea need to concentrate on themselves. Obviously, be mindful of Brentford. They got some excellent players. Like I said, they know how to score a goal. They do the basics really, really well. And I think Chelsea should just make sure that, I'm sure Maresca will. This is why I'm not too concerned about our home form anymore, is that I think we've turned a corner. I certainly hope so. I mean, this is the sort of game that you can see us, flopping. I really hope it's not, because going into Christmas, this will be a fantastic 3 points to get, with Everton on the horizon just before then, and then Fulham over Christmas on Boxing Day. We've got 3 good fixtures here potentially. If we can pick up 7 or 9 points, that would be wonderful, and it really will set us apart from the pack. I think the way Chelsea are playing, and not just through Cole Palmer, you've seen players like Enzo now and Caicedo particularly. They've really stepped up. Anybody in that midfield, in all honesty, from Neto to Lavia, even Mudryk when he's come on and played, has looked really, really good. All the squad players, if you want to call them that, and Nkunku wouldn't thank me for saying he's a squad player, but when he's come on recently, he's impacted the game, or he started against Southampton, he's impacted the game. And it's good that we've got goals all around the pitch now. Caicedo himself has scored a couple, as we've said before. Enzo and Neto, Madueke, Palmer, Jackson. There's goals everywhere in this side, and I think that's why we're so unpredictable and hard to play against. I think when you have a certain player, a bit like Man City, where it's Haaland all the time, if you can find a way of nullifying him, it then builds a bit of pressure on all the other players to suddenly start contributing. And when he starts missing loads of goals, it's like, oh, okay, what do we do now? He can't score a goal. We need to do something. And by then, sometimes it can be too late. So going to the game against Brentford the weekend, I'm super excited. Chris and I are going together. Really looking forward to that. It's an evening game. Like I say, it's under the lights. I hope that we can just put it all together. Another good performance. It doesn't have to be, do you know what? It doesn't have to be the best performance we've ever had. As long as we're solid, we're compact, hopefully we can entertain. That's what we all want. But do you know what? If we come away from here with a 2-1 victory, and it's not that great, but we've had to dig it out somewhat, then so be it. Of course, I'd love to win 4-1 or 4-0 or something silly, but Brentford aren't, they're no mugs. They're not going to come here and just, be open and and hope that it's a kind of you have a shot, we have a shot type of a game. They're gonna be a serious team, and they are going to make it very hard for us. I don't like doing predictions, so I'm not going to give a score for the result, but I don't really care how it comes. I think there was a time when we wanted to see good football all the time, and don't get me wrong, I still want to see that. But on occasions, on a cold evening, when we've had lots of games recently, and we've been on a very good run, if we can just keep that momentum going into the Everton game next week, this will be a fantastic result for us. So hoping for an exciting game, but don't care if it's a drab 1-0 or a 2-1. So hoping for another 3 points.
I'm recording this note just after Chelsea's game over in Astana. And first thing to say is, wow, how cold did the players look? I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it. I mean, for those of a certain era will remember the game in Tromsø back in, was it 98, where Gianluca Vialli showed he could play on any surface, including snow. But they just looked freezing when they came out all in their basically leggings and tops. You could see their breath. It was absolutely incredible, and huge credit to the character, I think, showing the professionalism as much as anything shown by the squad, particularly obviously those senior players out there. I thought Pedro Neto was a real example, wasn't he, to the young lads of how to have an attitude in a game like that, and actually to a man. I thought we did ourselves justice and showed that, representing Chelsea, whatever the game, whatever the competition and the venue might be, is something that people want to take seriously. So I think that was really good to see. The other thing to say, obviously, is I'm really pleased that Maresca made what was the sensible decision of basically leaving the whole squad behind that we think would be involved in the game on Sunday. Again, I think most people thought he would do a certain amount of that, but not maybe to the extent that he did. And I think it just showed really shrewd management of the situation and knowing where the priorities are. And that was really, really good to see, and hopefully stands us in good stead for what will be, as Joe said, a really tough game, I think, on Sunday. Not to be underestimated, Brentford by any means. And as you will hear later, they have a very good record against Chelsea. What can we expect? I think the team will be pretty similar to Spurs, won't it? We know Madueke will come in for Neto, who's suspended. But other than that, apart from maybe a surprise or two that Enzo likes to do, it'll be a very, very strong side. I think the atmosphere at the Bridge is going to be bouncing. As Joe said, we'll be there together watching this one. And yeah, there's that feeling before Christmas that kind of anything's possible right now, being a Chelsea fan, which is still a lovely feeling and something to really enjoy. And the other thing I wanted to pick up is just something Joe said, is how incredibly refreshing is it, like Joe said, about where goals come from. It really feel like there's goals, whoever we play, whoever's playing for Chelsea. And it is a real departure, isn't it, from how we felt for not so much last season, but certainly 2 or 3 years before that, where we were always frustrated with the likes of Havertz and Werner and many others, of thinking we just had no real cutting edge. Well, now it feels like if Jackson's having an off day, it doesn't necessarily matter because someone else will step up and do the business. And I just love how we're getting goals from every area of the pitch. And even Sancho now adding that to his game is just great to see. So I think it will be a good game. I'm expecting goals at both ends because that's what tends to happen in Chelsea games. And let's hope we can come on the right side of the result. We, as always, like to hear from a member of the opposition. And this week we're going to hear from big friend of Joe and big Brentford fan Lewis Johnston on his thoughts about their season so far and the game on Sunday. So thank you for your contribution, Lewis. Thanks for being part of the show. And over to you.
Hello, mate. Looking forward to our annual visit to Stamford Bridge on Sunday night. Got a good record since we've been in the Premier League last 3 years. Got a good record against you guys, home and away. But I realise we're facing a completely different Chelsea side now. Absolutely on form at the moment, scoring for fun, as we are as well. But I realise it's going to be very different to what we've seen in the past. I think we scored the second most goals in the Premier League behind you. I think we scored the most at home. I think scored most at home in the top 5 leagues in Europe at the moment. So at home, we're absolutely flying, conceding lots, but scoring even more. Really great game against Newcastle on Saturday. I tend to go behind at home, but always come back at the moment. Won everyone at home apart from West Ham, but all the others we've won. So absolutely brilliant at home. Away, completely the opposite. 1 point away from home, and that's 0-0 up at Everton. We have played all the top sides bar you and Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Man United, Tottenham, played all those, lost to them all. But most of those games we actually went ahead. Fulham, Man United, Tottenham, Man City, we went ahead in all those games. Just couldn't hold on. They came back. So be a lot more confident if we were playing you at home, but we're not playing you away. And our away form's got to change at some point, hopefully Sunday. But like I said, two different completely sides for some reason. Nobody can spot why. Frank can't. So like I said, a lot more confident at home, but we'll give it a good go, hopefully away. Fulham was probably our worst away game, where we just didn't. We just sat back and let them attack, and eventually we were 1-0 up in the 90th minute and they ended up winning it. So I'd like to see it give us a go at Chelsea. So fingers crossed it's an attacking lineup and tactics attacking. Last game we played before we played you, beat Newcastle 4-2 at the weekend, went in half-time 2-2, wasn't a great first half. Could have gone in behind, to be honest, if Newcastle were a bit more clinical at finishing, but they weren't, and didn't make any subs at half-time, but completely changed our tactics, and second half was probably the best 45 minutes I've seen Brentford play in the Premier League. Got absolutely everything spot on, and blew Newcastle away. Second half, 2 more goals, finished 4-2, could have been 5 or 6. All the goals, really well taken goals, all completely different. Membero cutting in from the right, scoring top corner on his left, Wissa on the left, cutting in, scoring on his right, Sharda down the middle, and then Collins from a set piece. So 4 completely different goals, which I think is what Chelsea should probably be worried about the most, is just don't know where the goals are going to come from or how they're going to come. So I think that's the main thing Chelsea needs to look out for. But worryingly at the back, I think bar one game, we've conceded every single game. We've got no choice but to go 5 at the back. Hickey and Rico Henry are both out long-term injuries. Hickey for the whole of this season and the whole of last season. Rico, we're hoping we'll be back by now, but it's not till next year. So forced to go 5 at the back, 3 central defenders, Van der Berg, Collins, Pinnock. Then either side players tracking back, attacking and defending. So it does leave the wings wide open. And unfortunately against Newcastle, just gave them so much space and time. Their second goal, Harvey Barnes, I think it was, just picked the ball up in the middle, just had this time to turn around and just pull it into the corner, and they weren't near him. So for us, worryingly, I think if we do give your guys plenty of time like that, then it could be a matter of you scoring, well, hopefully not too many, but a couple, and us having to score a few more. So it should be entertaining, should be end to end. No major injury worries. Jensen would be out. He's out till Christmas. We knew that. Vitali wasn't in the squad Saturday against Newcastle. I assume he's injured. Not sure if he'll be back. Norgard was back. So, like I said, Van der Berg, Collins, Pinnock, 3 central defenders. Flecken definitely in goal. Against Newcastle, we played Yarmulke and Norgard in the middle, which is slightly different to what he had done. Keane Lewis Potter out on the left, who's been absolutely brilliant, fantastic going forward and getting better game by game at the back. So he's looking great. Put Damsgaard onto the bench, which is unusual because he's probably been our most improved player this season, been absolutely brilliant. But like I said, the tactics half-time worked brilliantly. He came on second half when Newcastle were tiring and just completely ran at them non-stop. So it'd be interesting to see if he starts. Obviously up front, Membero and Wissa scoring for fun at the moment. 2 absolutely brilliant players. Down the middle, we can either play Sade or Thiago, who are very different as well. Sade, very slight, very, very quick feet, whereas Thiago, big, strong player. He bought him from Club Bruges, got injured in pre-season, so that was his first start on Saturday and looked brilliant. So it just depends on who Thomas Frank thinks should play down the middle, really, between them two. And Carvalho started, who got from Liverpool. I think that's probably his first start of the season. He hasn't been playing much, but again, he's getting better and better game by game. So not too many different choices. All you'll really see is whether Carvalho starts and whether it's Thiago or Sade up front. Then it just depends on the tactics. Like I said, unfortunately, Fulham were quite negative and it backfired. But when we do attack, especially at home, we look absolutely brilliant. So I think it'll be really entertaining. Plenty of goals either end. I think it would definitely be a matter of you scoring at least 1 or 2. Us having to score 2 or 3. So should be really good fun, entertaining game. Right, obviously hope you lose, but good luck. Cheers.
We finished the episode, as always, by looking back at our best and worst memories of that fixture. And whilst Joe had the joy in the last episode of looking back at the choice of amazing wins at Spurs over the years, I've been given home to Brentford. And this will be a short section because I have never seen Chelsea beat Brentford in the league. And in fact, the last time we beat Brentford in the league was 1946. So a little before even my time. So we're not going to do a best because incredibly, Chelsea haven't beaten Brentford, and since they've been back in the Premier League, we've played them 3 times, and Brentford have won all 3. And so I'll cut straight to the worst of those games, and it was one that I was at back in April 2022, the first time that Brentford came back to the Bridge, and we went 1-0 up after 48 minutes. An absolutely incredible goal by Antonio Rudiger. It was one of those things we saw him do so many times. He'd like run upfield and do one of these crazy shots. We were struggling to break them down. Normally the shot would go anywhere but near the goal, but this one flew in off the post. And it was actually the first game I ever took my nephew to at Lauby, who would have been about 7 at the time. And it was a really lovely moment. I was like, this is going to be a great day in the sunshine, watching his beloved Chelsea and us to go through to a great game. And it was pretty much the team actually just thereabouts that won the Champions League the year before. So this was Mendy in goal, Rudiger, Silva, Azpilicueta, Alonso. I mean, it's so funny, isn't it? Looking back, it was Mason Mount, Havertz, Ziyech, Werner, that kind of era. And unfortunately, after 48 minutes, we were 1-0 up. And 12 minutes later, we were 3-1 down. And Brentford absolutely tore us apart in the last half an hour or so, and even went on to get a 4th. So we'd lose the game 4-1. I think it's the sort of some of the threats, actually, even when you look back at that game, like Bryan Mbeumo is such a good player, isn't he? He's one of those players playing for another Premier League team that you definitely take at Chelsea, in much the way that we looked at Pedro Neto when he was at Wolves. He's such a dangerous player. He tore us apart. Tony was a constant menace. And the main memory I have of the game, actually, was Christian Eriksen, who was basically playing in holding midfield, absolutely ran the game. He was absolutely superb. We really couldn't get near him. And actually, just as well that by the time he then went to Man United, he couldn't really rediscover that form, because he was brilliant in that spurt at Brentford in the second half of the season. But yeah, so a very, very interesting record against Brentford since they've been back in the Prem. And let's hope that on Sunday night, we finally get that first win since 1946. Up the Chelsea. Those were the Chelsea notes for this week. If you enjoyed the podcast, do us a favour and share it with a fellow Blue. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave us a review wherever you're listening. Wherever you may be, stay carefree, and remember, every little thing's gonna be alright.